At the Sea Lantern Hotel in the Alsancak quarter, just after 2 in the morning on a rain-polished Sunday, the key card audit for room 307 shows no door open, no exit, no error. Yet a stairwell camera time code captures a hooded figure slipping down 2 flights at that exact minute, and a bank alert pings a cash withdrawal from a kiosk 3 streets away, while both guest phones remain anchored to the same cell tower. The smartwatch on one wrist logs a sudden burst of steps and a plunge in heart rate, then goes still. If the door never opened, who was moving, who was spending, and who controlled the room? Stay with this case. The small records answer the large lie. Kareem Daler is a travel coordinator in his late 20s who knows flight rules like other people know lullabies. He can splice a cheap itinerary out of awkward layovers and last-minute fares. He is careful with documents and neat with receipts. He's also tired of choosing between silence and exile. The man he loves is his cousin by blood and his partner by vow. Yusuf Rami works in a small architectural studio, fixates on lines and light, and is braver in buildings than in rooms with family. They married in a civil hall on a windswept island where the clerk stamped papers without a pause. They did it clean, legal, simple. Then they looked at money and looked at home and chose a quiet honeymoon in a city that was close, busy, and anonymous. Pressure gathers in ordinary ways. A mother sends a voice note that trails off into prayer. An uncle forwards a lawyer's opinion that is framed as care. A cousin offers a hotel gift through the family's textile import firm. A bland booking made under a corporate rate at a partner address, the Sea Lantern. Hotel near the waterfront, close to tram lines, far from anyone they know. The message wears the mask of generosity. The sender wears the mask of success. The family firm calls it a blessing and uses the language of logistics, the way companies cushion control. Stay there, they write. We know the manager, the rate is covered, the breakfast is decent. Kareem does not want to owe anyone, but the price is hard to refuse. Yusuf wants waves and alley light and time to draw. The pressure point is money and the promise to be normal. They land before dawn, carry 2 hard cases, and move through the glass doors while the lobby smells of lemon cleaner and wet coats. The clerk on duty slides registration cards and a tourist tax slip across the counter, takes both passports for the identity reporting upload, and smiles like this is routine. The printer ticks out 2 thin receipts with the firm's name in the header. A housekeeping cart squeaks past with fresh towels. A laminated sign near the elevator lists emergency stairs, muster points, and a check-in time set by policy, not mercy. Nothing is overt. Everything is frictionless. The opponent is not a man in a mask, but a network in a suit. It is a family business with a transport arm, a wholesale line, and friends in hospitality. Its cover story is care. Its capability is access. The network can clear a booking queue, change a room, obtain a spare keycard at the desk with a phone call and a surname, and pull footage before police ask. Layered over this is the older power of shame and the newer power of paperwork. Together, they make a room into a lever. Kareem and Yusuf try to make the hours simple. They walk the waterfront and share burek under a metal awning while rain needles the bay. They message 2 friends a selfie that is cropped tight. They post nothing to the wider family chat. They move like tourists and like fugitives, but they also relax. Ordinary time does that. It smooths rough edges. In the evenings, Kareem lays documents flat in the room, safe as he always does. Flight confirmation or emails, marriage certificate scans, 2 passports. He tells himself that routine is an armor. The mask thickens. A welcome note arrives under their door with the hotel crest and a signature from a manager they never see. The note mentions a complimentary massage if they book by the next day. It names a time and a room number. It is sales language, and it is also a schedule someone else wrote for them. They ignore it. Sales language. A second paper comes with a dinner discount that requires a barcode sent to a phone number they do not recognize. The number bears the family firm's country code. They ignore that too. Nothing explodes. Pressure rarely does. It settles, measures, plans. They are ordinary for one more night. They choose a film, they choose silence, they sleep as rain stalls and starts again against the window. A binding commitment is made when Karim replies to the hotel's identity verification text with scans of both passports, authorizes the corporate rate with a typed consent line, and accepts a calendar invite for a courtesy meeting in the lobby the following afternoon. Invite for a courtesy. He rationalizes each click as a small thing. Together, they fix the path ahead. The commitments are social, digital, and physical. The hotel files their details into the guest registry interface that beams into a police portal. A small green check confirms the upload. The corporate rate links to an invoice chain in the textile firm's accounts payable queue. The front desk adds a note, family referral. A back office system now knows them by name and room. Karim knows how these links work. He has built travel chains for clients for years. He tells himself that system footprints are neutral. He knows better, but he wants rest more than he wants risk. Quiet flags rise in a line that is easy to step over. Housekeeping knocks at a strange hour and apologizes as if prompted to test a reaction. The minibar shows a bottle missing that neither of them touched. Then the charge disappears as if a mistake needed logging. Neither of them touched. The elevator stops between floors for the length of a breath, and the alarm button clicks without sound before movement resumes. A spa attendant calls the room by name and offers a free service if they can come before late afternoon. The voice uses first names that were never given to the spa. On the hallway camera, a man in a dark blazer stands too long outside their door, hands in pockets, gaze fixed not on the peephole, but on the lock. Karim rationalizes each flag the way a trained mind can. Hotels are noisy, he thinks. Systems crosstalk. Staff share guest lists without malice. He has chosen optimism before and survived it. Yusuf watches the light shift across the carpet and says nothing. They plan the day. Waterfront, old tracks, a market street where Yusuf will sketch cornices. Normal is a decision they keep choosing. A system enters the story hard. Normal is a decision. The keycard platform logs each door event with a timestamp down to the second and pushes those entries to a console in a manager's office behind the lobby. That console shows their door open at late morning for a housekeeping refresh and again just before noon for their own exit. It also shows a third open at late afternoon with no guest card presented. The event code reads Master Override. No one tells them this, but the system tells the desk. The system is indifferent and exact. Down by the tram line, Karim's phone buzzes with an invoice email. The subject line reads, Service Upgrade, and the sender domain is a close cousin of the hotel's, but not exact. The body references a club level that does not exist. A link requests a two-factor code that arrives on Karim's phone a moment later. He deletes both. He's proud of that. A second email arrives from the textile firm's finance office, CCing an uncle and the hotel manager on a proposed extension. The language is warm. The effect is a hook. The social exposure grows. A relative posts a photo from the wedding day in the family chat with a caption that plays at blessing while declaring a boundary. Hearts and flames stack up under it. An older aunt writes a private message about sin and safety and offers plane tickets home. She includes a booking reference number that pulls up a real reservation in a real system on a real airline. The dates start in 3 days. The return is one way. Karim closes the browser tab and breathes slow. The lobby courtesy meeting happens in the late afternoon. The manager does not show. A different man does, with a staff pin and a file folder that is almost empty. A different man does. He apologizes for the mix-up and asks to photocopy the passports again because the first upload failed validation. He carries a stack of blank forms titled Notification of Guest Change and requests a signature. The language looks like a municipal form, and it is almost right. It is also wrong in 3 small ways. Karim has eyes for detail and signs nothing. The man smiles, thanks them, and leaves with the passports anyway, saying he will return them to the safe after the upload. They wait. Minutes stretch. The desk is busy. The printer hums. Karim tries to be polite with the clerk, and then firm, and then very firm. The clerk taps a screen and nods without walking away, says the manager is reviewing, says the system is slow this evening, says the scanner jammed. Viewing, says the rain starts again on the glass. It gets dark. A non-reversible step lands without sound when the passports do not come back by nightfall, and the desk logs them as held for compliance under the identity reporting rule. The clerk prints a stub that acknowledges custody and slides it across the counter. Karim folds it into his wallet. He has just seated the only documents that let them move. On the fourth night, the world fails its promise. The hotel promises safety, routine, and a door that works with only 2 cards. The systems promised traceability. The family promises concern wrapped in control. Just after 2, as storm drains choke and release, a test tone chirps in the fire control panel behind the lobby, and the elevator locks itself in place. Upstairs, room 307's lock light flickers when Yusuf tries the card and fails. Room 300. The second card fails the same way. The hall camera shows their hands, their tired movements. The keycard audit in the back office does not show any attempt at all. The console lists the lock as idle. A contradiction builds. At the same time, a cash machine 3 streets away throws a bank alert on Karim's phone for a withdrawal limit he never set. The message lists a location code tied to a kiosk near a late-night pharmacy. In the room, both phones sit on the table, their Bluetooth radios paired to a smart speaker by the bed, their signals stuck to the same cell tower. Karim's smartwatch, which he forgot to charge, had synced earlier that evening. Its last active log shows a spike of steps in the corridor during the hour before midnight and a dip in heart rate that looks like sudden stillness. The device should be on his wrist. It is not. Sudden stillness. Its signal pings once from the stairwell and then vanishes. The cover story forms in real time. The night clerk says the couple went out after midnight. The elevator camera shows no such thing. The stairwell camera shows a hooded figure descending 2 flights just after the bank alert, carrying something close to the chest that could be a scarf or a bundle or nothing at all. The figure's shoes reflect and then do not. The time code on the footage is clean. The keycard audit still shows no door open. Someone has bypassed the lock or rewritten its record. Leverage lands with precision. A cousin messages a screenshot of a legal article about immigration status and marriage recognition in the city they are in. It highlights a clause about public order. The implication is simple. You could be reported, held, and refused help. The implication is simple. Another message warns about the father's health and ties help to compliance. A third, from the textile firm account, includes a draft transfer document that would shift Karim's small savings into a family account for safekeeping during travel. The subject line uses the word emergency. The word is a blade. Karim starts to catalog time. He opens the Notes app and writes down the minute the door failed, the minute the bank alert hit, the minute the elevator froze and freed. He lists names. He lists faces and their badges and their job titles is written on plastic. He draws a crude map of the hallway and marks the camera's cone, the blind spot by the ice machine, the exit to stairs, the cleaner's closet, blind spot by the ice machine. He writes the license plate of the black van that idled near the service door on their second day, the one with the textile firm's logo magnetized to its side. Yusuf fetches the receipt stub that shows the passports in custody and lays it flat on the desk. The paper is thin and important. They go down to the lobby and ask for the manager. The night clerk places a call that rings for too long and then routes to someone else who speaks in calm tones about policy and patience. The clerk offers warm water and seats. Karim requests the passports back. The clerk gestures toward a binder labeled compliance and says the upload failed again. The binder is a prop. The prop is a message. Upstairs, the room safe blinks an error when Karim tries to open it with the code he set on the first night. Safe blinks an error. He tries again, slow and precise. Same result. The safe is a small world and a small cage. He feels the shape of all the cages in the larger world press in at once and tells himself to keep writing, keep mapping, keep counting. He lists everything he can still control. The list is short and sharp. Then, the network tightens the perimeter. The desk restricts their room phone to internal calls only. The Wi-Fi portal prompts a new login that refuses their room number and last name combination. A new key card appears in the audit log labeled Service. The hallway camera shows the dark blazer again, this time with gloves, this time stopping in front of their door not to knock but to listen. The master override event code fires a third time in the console. The door opens inward a fraction, then closes. The card that should have been unique is, in practice, not. The constraint locks in when the hotel refuses to release the passports until morning review. The door lock is rekeyed remotely under a service banner and the safe stays shut. Movement is now controlled by a console behind a counter and a thin line of policy. For Karim and Yusuf, the 8 days that follow begin here, with a closed door that claims it has not moved and a building that insists they have. Control arrives in layers that look like policy. The first layer is space. The sea lantern controls corridors, doors, and cameras. The manager console can open a lock, wipe a log, or flag a floor as out of service. The service elevator can be parked between levels on a maintenance code that only a few staff know. The second layer is time. Housekeeping sheets assign minutes to rooms and rooms to workers. Night audits batch charges and push identity files to police servers before dawn. The third layer is money. The corporate rate routes to the textile firm's payables queue. A hold sits on the room that only the firm can clear with a vendor code. The fourth layer is law. Identity uploads are mandatory. Passport custody can be framed as compliance. A clerk can say review and mean restraint. Jurisdiction friction makes the layers stick. A consular duty officer will not act without a formal police complaint. A local station will not log a complaint without identity documents in hand. Hotel policy will not release those documents without a manager sign-off. The manager will not sign without a call from the corporate account that booked the stay. Each gate points to the next gate. None of the gates are technically closed. Together, they are a wall. The network behind the mask becomes clearer. The textile firm's logistics arm runs vans that move fabric and samples, and sometimes people between the airport freight zone and waterfront hotels where buyers meet reps. A cousin sits on an advisory board of a hotel association that shares staff pools during busy periods. A night supervisor at the Sea Lantern is a friend of a warehouse foreman with a shared hometown and a quiet side income. The firm's accounting office has viewing access in the hotel's vendor portal. The shapes connect along social lines faster than along cables. Karim flips from target to operator because the alternative is to wait. He uses what he knows as a travel coordinator and turns it into a map. He starts with clocks. He notes that the hotel night audit pushes guest identity files during a window before dawn. He notes that the bank alert landed within a minute of the stairwell figure moving. He notes that the elevator lockout began within the same window. He writes these 3 times in a column. He sketches the ground floor. He marks the service exit. He marks the cash machine by the pharmacy. He draws a line between them and measures steps in his head. He turns the room into a field desk. He writes down badge names and shift patterns gleaned from uniforms and the calm chatter he keeps hearing at the desk. He lists the names that keep reappearing on printouts at the back counter. He uses the television screen mirroring to open the hotel guest network splash page and watch which staff devices show on the internal network when they log into the vendor portal. He cannot see content. He can time presence. He needs outside force. Jurisdiction will not come through the front door, so he looks for a side door. He contacts a friend in a different city who has a work email at a multinational booking platform. The message he sends is spare and factual. Reservation number, hotel code, identity hold, master override anomalies, bank alert correlation. He attaches a photo of the custody stub and a short list of times. He does not ask for rescue. He asks for audit escalation. Platforms hate liability. They log risks with speed. He also documents in a way that will survive a device seizure. With speed, he writes a simple timeline on paper and places it in an envelope marked with the room number and the dates. He folds a second copy and slides it under the bed frame where the vacuum does not reach. He resets his smartwatch and wears it on his ankle under a sock so that any sudden movement or halt will be recorded. He turns on the phone's voice memo and places it under the desk, not for speech, but for the cadence of footsteps and doors. He pulls the room telephone cord and counts the clicks until the dial tone dies, then records that number. Pressure accelerates. The textile firm sends a soft threat wrapped in generosity, an airport pickup scheduled for the day after next, to move them somewhere calmer. The pickup includes a vehicle registration that matches the black van with the magnet logo. The pickup includes a calendar invite appears for a meeting at the hotel with a notary to clarify the billing authority. The notary's address resolves to a small office owned by a legal cousin who advertises immigration help. The mask of care is now a uniform. It is worn with confidence. Karim and Yusuf choose to formalize their resistance. They write a short statement addressed to the hotel, the booking platform, and the city prosecutor's inbox about unlawful retention of identity, tampering with access logs, and suspected misuse of financial instruments. The language is simple. It references the minutes and the machines. They do not send it yet. They print a copy on the lobby's business center printer and watch the clerk's eyes when the pages slide into the tray. The clerk sees the heading and picks up the phone. Pages slide into the tray. Even that is a record. They also choose a step that looks small and is not. They walk to a nearby electronics stall during daylight and buy a cheap prepaid phone with cash. They register it with a birth year that is not theirs, as the stall owner suggests for speed. They program 3 numbers: the booking platform escalation contact, the consulate duty phone, and the city's cybercrime unit intake line. They write a single phrase on a card that will be the trigger to send the prepared statement with a time-stamped location. They test the phone by calling a taxi line and hanging up before a human voice picks up. The plan's first checkpoint becomes time, not confrontation. The audit push is just before dawn. The van pickup is set for late morning. The notary meeting is early afternoon. They decide to act before the audit, when the night desk is thin and the fear of a locked identity file is highest. They set their own clock and wait for the hours to pass. The mask across from them smiles and asks about breakfast preferences and whether the pillows are too firm. Near midnight, the prepaid phone lights once with a message from the booking platform contact. The platform has opened a supplier risk case and flagged the property for an on-site compliance check. The note ends with a request for any contemporaneous evidence that shows log tampering. There is no promise of rescue. There is pressure applied to the right joint. That's enough for now. They reach for the envelope, and for the phrase on the card, and for the courage to move while the world sleeps. The day ahead will not let them return to silence. They structure the counter in 3 strands: an evidence chain, a controlled meet, and an extraction path. Each strand needs time points, devices, and a unit that can claim jurisdiction when the moment turns. The evidence chain begins with the keycard audit anomalies. They cannot access the console, but they can capture the consequences. Karim sets his phone to record the lock light each time the door is tried. He films the red and the green and the idle. He captures the exact time code on the hallway camera monitor through the door's peephole when a staffer walks past to the service closet and swipes a MasterCard to check the linen room. He notes that the hallway camera's clock runs a handful of seconds fast compared to his phone. He writes that offset down. The second artifact is the bank alert. He takes a screenshot of the alert on his phone, then uses the prepaid device to photograph the screenshot with the current time displayed on the prepaid's lock screen. This pairs the alert to a device born after the alert, fixing the order. He walks to the pharmacy during daylight with Yusuf and stands near the cash machine. He photographs the kiosk sticker that lists the service hotline and the machine code. He logs the distance from the hotel door to the kiosk, measured in streetlights, in steps, and in tram stops. He buys a bottle of water inside to fix their presence on a receipt. The third artifact is the stairwell camera angle. He finds a moment when the stairs are empty and the cleaning cart is parked at the landing. He places his phone on the cart handle facing the flight and waits for a staffer to pass. He notes shoe reflections in stride. He captures the time. He has no faces, no voices, only patterns. Patterns are enough when they fit a clock. He binds the artifacts to nodes. The master override event code correlates to the dark blazer who patrols the hall at odd hours. The bank alert correlates to a time when the night desk took possession of the passports. The stairwell movement correlates to the elevator lockout, which correlates to a maintenance code in the fire panel log, visible through the glass if one leans and looks. He writes the names of the likely operators at each node: night supervisor with staff pin, accounting contact at the textile firm vendor portal, cousin in the hotel association who can pressure managers informally. He now needs a unit. The city has a cybercrime department that accepts tampering claims when access systems are used to restrain movement. It also has a financial intelligence office that reviews suspicious withdrawals tied to compromised identity. Border police respond when passports are unlawfully held. The prosecutor's duty line opens when a platform flags a supplier risk with supporting evidence. None of them will assemble themselves. Kareem will push them to intersect. The controlled meet is the notary appointment the network scheduled. It will take place in a small office near a tram stop during a time when the booking platform compliance visitor is likely to arrive at the Sea Lantern. The meet can be used to draw one operator off-site and fix him in a place with public foot traffic and cameras that do not belong to the hotel. The plan is not to confront, but to create a clash of schedules that forces the network to move where its mask is thinner. They prepare the meet like a sting. They place the printed statement in a slim folder. They write a line at the top that reads, "Preliminary notice of unlawful retention and access tampering." They carry the custody stub for the passports. They carry the screenshots and the kiosk photograph and the hallway offset note. They tuck the prepaid phone in a jacket pocket with a preset message addressed to the cybercrime intake and the booking platform escalation thread. The message reads "Ready" with a location link switched on. The extraction path is humble and solid. They will walk from the notary office to a larger hotel 3 blocks away that houses a chain business center with a camera that records all day. They will ask the desk there to scan their statement and email it to the addresses written on the letterhead. They will keep copies on a USB stick bought for cash at the same electronics stall. If the night supervisor tries to pull them back with a call or a threat wrapped as care, the prepaid phone will send the ready message and the booking platform will call the Sea Lantern to ask for the manager while the cybercrime unit calls the hotel to ask for the night audit logs. That is the time box. That is the pressure. Before dawn, they set a code that requires no speech. A folded corner on the statement means the send is live. A tap on the prepaid once means go. Twice means abort. They do not speak it aloud. It means go. They tape the envelope with the room timeline under the sink in the lobby's public restroom, just high enough to escape a quick clean. If they vanish or are dragged back, something will stay. The clock starts when the night desk prints a new guest list for the morning shift and a fax line chatters to life with a page from the booking platform's supplier team. A compliance visit is scheduled for late morning. The manager reads the header and makes 3 calls. 1 goes to the cousin at the hotel group. 1 goes to the textile firm accounting line. 1 goes to the night supervisor in the dark blazer. The van with the magnet logo parks at the service door again, earlier than the scheduled pickup. The driver checks his phone, checks his watch, and waits longer than a delivery takes. The stairwell camera watches and says nothing. Kareem and Yusuf step out of the elevator into daylight and choose the sliding doors instead of the van. The prepaid phone sends a location link to the booking platform and to cybercrime just before they cross the street. The statement is in the folder. The folded corner is in place. The city is awake and loud. The plan has moved from paper to pavement. At the notary office, a clerk checks a calendar and glances at the street as if expecting a different pair. The network has misaligned itself by trying to control 2 points at once. That misalignment is the opening. The booking platform compliance visitor arrives at the Sea Lantern. He shows a badge that is not law, but is leverage. He asks for the identity upload logs, the master keycard audit, and the guest document custody binder. He requests to view the camera console time setting and the fire panel event history. He writes down the names of who can grant access. Fire panel event history. He dials the platform's legal line and leaves it on speaker. The manager cannot smile this away. The manager calls the cousin. The cousin is at the notary office watching two men walk in who are not his targets. The clock he set now runs against him. The prepaid phone in Kareem's pocket buzzes once. The cybercrime unit acknowledges receipt of the ready message and asks for the artifacts. He slides the folder across the notary desk without looking at the cousin who has just walked in from the street, breathless, with a hand on a file that is suddenly useless. The statement leaves their hands. The time points enter a system that logs what it touches. The code word is not spoken. Time points enter a system. The signal is the folder's folded corner and the path they take out the door toward the chain hotel with the business center and the always-on camera by the printers. The operation is running. The hotel across the tram line prints proof that ink can be louder than a raised voice. Back at the Sea Lantern, the manager's calls go unanswered as the platform's legal line says phrases that make policy feel like law. The night supervisor in the dark blazer steps into view of a camera he does not control to fetch the custody binder. He hesitates for a breath that will end up on an evidence list. He places the binder on the counter as two officers from the cybercrime unit walk through the lobby with a printed intake form in clear sleeves. The perimeter shifts, and the masks around the desk warp under a different light. The perimeter shifts. Outcomes land in stages, none of them cinematic, all of them real. The cybercrime officers request a copy of the master keycard audit from the past week and the identity upload records that show when guest files were pushed to the police portal. They ask to see the fire panel event history and the elevator maintenance codes. The manager points to policy and the need for a senior sign-off, then hands over what policy allows when a platform threatens to delist a property. The booking compliance visitor observes and notes where refusal occurs. The officers photograph screens. They ask the night supervisor to identify himself for the report. He does, with a hand that does not shake. The first detention is administrative. The officers hold the custody binder and the passports for verification. They issue a receipt to replace the stub and reference an investigation number that begins with letters for the cyber unit. Stub and reference. The hotel will not release anything without a phone call for the rest of the day. The holders of the phone lines are no longer just family and managers. A new number exists, and it belongs to a unit with a seal. The second consequence is commercial. The platform flags the Sea Lantern as under compliance review and suspends instant bookings. A yellow banner appears in the back-end tool that reads, "Limited availability, pending audit." Rooms become empty in a way that managers feel more than they feel a threat on paper. The cousin at the hotel association receives two quiet messages from colleagues asking what happened, then one message that warns about reputational spill. Networks prefer profit to loyalty. The mask begins to peel. The third outcome is a financial hold. The mask begins. The bank reviews the alert tied to the cash machine by the pharmacy and notes an unusual pattern linked to a card not present profile on Kareem's account from earlier in the week. A fraud investigator calls the kiosk operator and requests footage. The kiosk angle does not show faces well, but it shows time and shows a hooded figure with shoes that reflect a certain way. It shows a hand that is gloved removing a card and pocketing it with a movement that matches a still from the stairwell footage. The bank freezes a small series of charges and opens a case. It is not a dramatic win. It is a lever. The central question receives an answer that is not grand and is enough. Who controlled the room? Central question receives the logs, the offsets, and the timing show a local control of space by hotel staff, specifically a night supervisor with master keycard access, acting in coordination with a family-linked network that leveraged the hotel's vendor relationship and identity reporting rules to restrict movement, tamper records, and pressure compliance. The door never opened in the system because the system was told not to see what the master did. The movement seen on cameras belongs to an operator who used the service staircase and timed bank withdrawals to create a false trail of voluntary exit. The passports were the lock, not the door. The console was the hand on the lock. The network was the reason it turned. There are no handcuffs in the lobby, The network was There is questioning in a back office where a printer runs a little hot and a fluorescent light flickers. The officers ask simple questions and write the simple answers. Did you use the master at these times? Who told you to hold the binder after the upload? What is the relationship between this vendor account and this booking extension? The night supervisor answers in a way that erodes the manager's posture. The manager answers in a way that widens the circle. The circle will not close today. Karim and Yusuf retrieve their passports under a new receipt that references the investigation number and a note about temporary return pending review. They sign for them with pens that leave thick ink. They do not go back upstairs. They check out at the desk with no ceremony. They walk to the chain hotel where the business center staff scan the statement and send it to the prosecutor's general inbox and to the booking platform's legal alias and to the consulate duty address. They pay for one night with a card that will be canceled tomorrow. They sleep with the envelope under the pillow and the prepaid phone on the nightstand. The network does not fall. It shifts. The cousin learns which calls now go to voicemail. The textile firm's accounting login to the hotel vendor portal is suspended for review. A quiet memo circulates among waterfront properties about document custody and audit risk. Staff change the way they hold binders. The night supervisor takes leave. A small news brief mentions a city cyber unit inquiry into access control misuse by unnamed properties. No names are printed. The lesson is printed for those who read between lines. No names are printed. The aftermath is administrative and human. Karim and Yusuf give short statements at the cyber unit office with their timeline and artifacts. They sign forms that permit the unit to request footage and logs. The consulate calls and asks if they need relocation or contact with counsel. They ask for neither. They ask for the ability to leave when they choose. Border police confirm that no holds sit on their names. The booking platform asks for consent to share their evidence with other agencies. They consent. Their handwriting looks small on large blanks. They buy train tickets rather than a flight. They choose a morning departure and a route that hugs the coast before turning inland. At the station, a departures board flips letters in a rhythm that feels like a heart regaining a steady beat. A departures board flips. They carry one hard case each and the paper envelope that is multiplied into copies. They are not safe. They are safer than they were the night the lock said it had not moved. The sea lantern returns to routine. The lobby lemon smell is back. Guests check in with wet coats and private stories. A new clerk sits at the desk with a name tag that shines too brightly under the lights. The camera above the stairwell blinks its small red dot. The fire panel sleeps until it does not. The keycard console receives new software that logs master overrides in a way that cannot be erased without a record. The manager's smile is thinner. The binder sits on a shelf that is now within the sightline of a camera. The central contradiction has been resolved enough to breathe. The larger contradiction remains. Control hides in policy and in kindness that is conditional. It will do so tomorrow in a different lobby, under a different crest. On the waterfront outside the hotel, rain stops and the slabs of pavement shine like glass. A tram bell rings once, soft. The sea air moves. The building stands.